Dave here. Welcome to the New to You Speakers Northern Workshop. We're going to do a refurb video for you. This is primarily going to be a cosmetic refurbishment. There's no functional issue with these. And what they are a pair of Mission MKII Model 70s. So Mission being the UK company, there seems to be quite a few of these around. I've seen them quite a bit. Mission is well known for that. If you know my my ad for my Bluetooth amplifiers, I feature a pair of Mission Model 50s, which are probably half this size, and for a two-way speaker, they sound absolutely amazing, actually. This is really what people are looking for these days. Smaller format speakers, but still high quality. And that's really what we've got here. Let's talk for a minute about what we're going to do with these. The only thing they need is new grill cloth. And if you look at the online forums, it's not obvious how to even get the grills off. So we'll start with that. We'll show you the little trick involved in that. It's actually going to be a challenge to put new grill cloth on these because of how deep the grills are, and stretching in four-way stretch fabric and putting that on is actually going to be the challenge for this project. They are a walnut wood grain vinyl over the rest of the box. You can see the bulk of the box itself is the grill cloth, and so there's very little exposed wood. So rather than the wood grain vinyl, I think we're going to probably consider to put some natural wood veneer over the top of this. Maybe we'll take the veneer, the wood grain vinyl off and put the veneer on the box, or maybe we'll put the veneer right over the vinyl. So we'll have to look at that. Let's dig in. I think it's going to be a fairly straightforward project, except for the grill cloth. And we may have to special order some what's called four-way stretch grill cloth. Typically, grill cloth is two-way stretch. I'll probably see if the two-way stretch grill cloth that I have will work on these. And if it doesn't, then we'll have to make a special order, which means this project's going to take longer. In YouTube time, that won't be obvious to you, but it'll be necessary to do some special order otherwise. And veneer, I should have all the veneer I need to redo these. So let's get on with it. All right, let's take a quick look at the box themselves. So we've got some standard binding posts, and it's important to note how deep the grill is. You know, the overall dimension on these is probably 8 inches deep, but the grill is 6 of the 8, and that's true all the way around. So the box, and there's box underneath this, but the way these are made, the grill has to stretch in all these dimensions. I don't know if we can get an idea. Try to find a light angle there, which would allow you to see how stretched that is presently. But we're really going to have to tug on these. I think it's be tough. But to get these grills off, it kind of looks like they should just pull off or slide off, but you do need to remove these 4 screws on the back side there. I believe they're fairly long through screws all the way to the front of the grill. So we're going to have to undo these 4. This particular one is much worse. You can see this corner here is dinged up pretty well. Actually, the box is fine, but the grill cloth is worn all the way through, and same here, and on the bottom as well. Badges are still in good shape, and the boxes are sound. They haven't had any water damage, and I think I mentioned they play wonderfully. So let's take the screws out and we'll probably do a little speed up here. You don't have to watch me take out screws to understand what's going on. And now with those screws removed, the grill and the back separate. So I think this gives you a different perspective of what we're dealing with here. The grill is the box, and then the back, which also includes the baffle. So you can't necessarily separate those out easily. Our crossover is located here. Let's get a little better view on that. And the electronics for the crossover are mounted right to the binding posts. We've got some polyfill in here, and then the drivers in the back. So let's just pull that, give you a little close-up of what's inside there. All right. So there's our woofer and our tweeter. Please note that the tweeter is on the bottom side. That seems to be fairly common with the other Mission speakers as well. Some other Mission speakers, I should say. All right, so let's keep going and take a look further at the large number of staples we're going to have to pull. So that's going to be the key, I suspect, to redoing these, is a lot of pulling and tugging to get the wrinkles out. And of course, you see this is how you access the drivers too. The drivers are mounted from within the box. That's important to note if you need to do any work on them. You don't have to remove the grill cloth to do that. You actually separate the box and then you can pull the drivers, which we will probably pull the drivers here just to have a look at them, but I don't expect anything noteworthy. So let's keep going. Always check before you start pulling wires. Everything's labeled well or color-coded well. So we've just got simple fast-ons, red positive, black negative. So it looks like we can pull these right off and have no issues with that. So our box is free. So let's set the rear aside, and let's, I guess for now, let's go ahead and pull one of the drivers, pull the woofer here, and take a look at that. It's got these 4 clips holding it to the box itself. So let's take those out. All right, I've loosened up the 4 nuts on these, 9/32, by the way. I think we better support this. I suspect it's quite beefy. All right, there's our driver. Aha! Speaker Place USA. Well, that's a surprise. So that tells me that these have likely been repaired in the past. So now we're going to check the other one and see what we find. Now the Speaker Place was a retail store here in Rochester, New York. fact, maybe we'll do a little little story about that as well. In fact, I bought when I just got out of college and came to Rochester, I bought a kit for a 3-way speaker from Dave, the guy that ran the speaker place in Henrietta, and I now suspect that these may have been something that he provided to my cousin as well, my family cousin. All right, let's keep, and now I'm going to have to check the other pair and see what we find in there. We've got a part number here on our tweeter, and I'm seeing some evidence that there's been maybe some repair work done there as well. I see some little wood shims, these little wood blocks on the clips that hold the tweeter against the case. So that wouldn't be surprising either. So let's take a look at that. We're going to do a full disassembly now. So there's the 4 clips holding those tweeters in. They're actually pieces of pressure treated wood. So that also gives you an idea when this might have been done. All right, so there's our bare box. Oh, there's the retaining clips. We'll get those, and it's time now to pull all the staples, and that I'll definitely spare you, and we'll go from there. All right, just to let you know where we're at now, I opened up the other one. We have the same drivers. Just to give you a quick view of what we're doing, I've now successfully loosened up the 71 staples that attach the grill to the grill box, I'll call it. And now that we've got those loosened, I just used a 90-degree pick and popped all those up on an edge. And then what we'll do now is we'll just come along with the pliers and pull all those out the rest of the way, and then our grill fabric should just fold right off. All right, coming back in a second to take a look at that. Our 71 staples have now been successfully removed, no glue. So you can see the particle board is, you get a little chip out when you pull those staples. So our grill fabric can now be easily removed. Aha! Yes, we do have the badge. The Mission badge is mounted through the grill and retained in the, you might be able to see it here, these 2 little spots in the bottom of the box, grill box. So let's see if we can push those out, and we certainly want to salvage the badge, even though I think, as we've said, there's not a lot of Mission MKII Model 70s left in these. There it is. Yep, definitely some adhesive all the way through the badge and securing behind the grill cloth. So we'll take that off, and then I think we've got our box ready to do whatever work we're going to do to it. And in this case, I think we're just going to do some paint. Another quick update here. There's the glue you can see that was holding the badge, but I also see some very small staples here in this recess where the badge was glued in, and that was to keep the grill cloth down in and not push the badge out, so that the whole thing could try to stay as recessed as possible. We'll pull those staples out of there as well. I threw the grill cloth back over the box just to demonstrate something for you. I was concerned that this was going to require some special fabric, and this is standard 2-way stretch speaker cloth, grill cloth. So what you see in this is this, the long dimension of the box is the stretch dimension. So in the short direction, across the width of the baffle, not the height, but the width of the baffle is the short stretch direction. So we need to make sure, I think, when we put our new grill cloth over this, that we take that into account and use the same orientation of our grill cloth as what we've seen here. That's going to be the only way to draw it, because this was at one point, even though this has now been kind of permanently stretched and it won't relax back to its flat condition. It's been stretched across the 6-inch depth for probably 40 years, and this is the result. 30 years, let's say. We'll do a little research and we'll give you that specifically. So there you have it. Another tip if you're going to be recovering these. So the box is ready. We'll do a little sand. Actually, we're going to remove the cloth off the other one. We'll do a little sand, a little paint, and then we're ready for the key part of this project. Come back to our current status. We have sanded, painted, and we've prepped the boxes, so they're all set. I've cut some new grill cloth, because these are so deep, even though the baffle is relatively small, the grill cloth, it has to be at least 22 by 28 because of all the depth of the box here. And so I've cut 2 pieces of new grill cloth about 24 by 30. So that should allow us the ability to pull where we need to pull and get this hopefully stretched around these deep corners without any wrinkles. So we're going to get the stapler out and we'll give it a go, and then we'll move on to the woodworking. All right, first one is now completed. We were able to stretch it, no wrinkles. I think on the second one, I'll show you how we did it. Start with the centers, then go to the corners, and then fill in. And it is tricky, but here you can see the crimping happens at very regularly. But it allows it to be nice and clean across all the surfaces that are going to be exposed. So we'll trim this off, sharp razor knife. We've still got to staple down the recess here where we'll put in the badging, but that's it. I think you can get a pretty decent idea of what we've got here. Take a look at it. All right, so as I said, the second one, I'll show you a little bit more detail in the sequence. All right, let's begin. Laid out the box on top of the fabric, equidistant from all the edges. We're going to start with the sides. Remember, this is the direction where there's not that much stretch, so you can pull tight, but you don't have to get too carried away. And apologize for the staple gun noise here. It's going to be pretty loud. Come around to the other side. Now we want to pull, and we're going center. All right, next we're going to go end. So now you do have to do a significant amount of pulling. Pull it as tight, essentially as tight as you can pull it. So I've pulled both edges, coming up tight around this edge. I want it to be straight. So I'm checking the weave, make sure I get the weave as tight and straight as possible. And staple. Oh, now down to this edge. Watch how we do that. Pull. Particle board, so sometimes you get loose little particles flying around. We don't want those to show through the fabric, so we'll get rid of them. Around the top, and we're pulling. Center. All right. So we've got the 4 centers on the 4 sides. Now we're going to go to the corners. We're going to reach our fingers down into the corner, pull and stretch, come straight up. Going straight up, and we're going to put 1 staple on each of these edges. So we have each corner anchored along each side of the box. 1, pulling as we do this, always. Okay, that one's done. Just to show you what we've got there, hopefully you can see that. The lighting's not too good right there. I have to move the camera on this one. Again, we're reaching down in the box. We're tightening the fabric in both directions. Across the front of the baffle. Keeping tension, coming up, straight up, following the tightest weave, round. 1. 2. Next one. Straight up, keeping tension. Okay. And the last corner, pulling straight up. Okay, so now our 4 centers on the sides and our 4 corners with a double staple in each corner. Now, you can see there's a little buckle, little wrinkle overlap started there. That's going to be hidden. It's going to go down as the other edge of the box is going to come down and cover that. So what we really want to watch for now as we work this is we're going to pull across and make sure we take all this waviness and buckle out as we work this section. So let me show you that. All right, these long edges are actually more difficult because you don't have the stretch in this direction. So you really do have to be careful, and you need to keep pulling the fabric as much as possible towards the corner and towards the center. So we need to keep pulling in this direction to make this work, and you got to keep the staples close together. So you need to, there's a lesson in this error. I didn't pull quite enough towards the corner to remove the wrinkles. I pulled straight up, and a little bit towards the corner would have been preferable. All right, this time we've got it. All right, there we go. So now that entire edge is clean, flat, no wrinkles. We'll do the same here. This side is always much easier because you've got the ability to really pull much more firmly. So we'll just work that along. Finish the other 2 sides, cut it off, and then we'll have the final product. All right, there we have it. Our 2 new grills are covered. We poked some holes, put our badges back in. I think we'll just flip them over and remount all the drivers now, and then we'll work on the rear boxes next. Grill boxes are done. Drivers are mounted. We have these retaining clips, which you can see here. 4 on the woofer, 3 on the tweeter. You have the little pressure treated wood spacers that they use to take up the gap. So I'm glad these sound good, because if they didn't, then I'd be in a real quandary about what to do. We're obviously just going to put them back together and check the electronics over one last time. And then we'll have a nice pair of bookshelf speakers. Let's work on the wood boxes, where the electronics are mounted. That'll be the next step, and we'll show you that process of veneering over the wood grain vinyl. We've got a 5-sided box that we want to cover. And just to check all the corners are tight, all the veneer, wood grain vinyl that's on here is in decent shape. We have a little opening right here on this one, so we'll probably put a little wood filler in there. Small little gap opening there, and that happens with moisture. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. We've got a label. I don't think we want to cover the label, but we do have the electronics on the back side of this binding post cup. What we're going to do is we're going to pull that. And then what we'll do is we'll end up veneering right over the top. Okay. Now, it's not surprising with old plastic. We got a corner that has broken off. That's what super glue is going to be for, so we'll get that glued back on. Let's pull the electronics through, save our little broken corner piece. And you can see there's a little bit of gasketing material. Yep, so we'll clean that up, put some new gasketing material on. Looks like there was a piece of tape, masking tape or something. We'll see if we can use some alcohol and solvent, get that off. Unfortunately, it's not on straight. It's a little cocked, so that's going to make we're going to make a cutout in the veneer and then put the veneer right over the opening, I think is how we will do that. Let's take the other one off. It's going to require wipe down with alcohol. We're going to use some contact cement and then pre-cut the veneer to size. The little piece of the gasketing, which has long since been fully degraded. All right, so let's get these clean. We will wipe them, and then we'll fill those edge cracks, as we want the veneer that we apply to have a nice solid. You can see the shadow line, I think, in the camera of that crack. Not really a crack, it's just opened up a little from expansion and contraction. Otherwise, it's in good shape. So this was made with one piece of veneer, cut the 4 corners, slapped it on. We're not going to do it like that. We're actually going to do individual pieces. So it'll take 5 individual pieces to cover this one and 5 individual pieces to cover that one. So I need to do a check. My oak, oh, it's going to be close. My oak is close to 8 1/4. This is 8 1/4, so I'm going to have to check my stock and see how we're going to do that. Next step, cleaning. This is oak. This is what I'm going to use for veneering the boxes. Probably going to put a Mission style coloring, a stickly Mission style stain to it. We'll show you that part as well. And this is a little over 9 wide, I believe. Yeah, 9 1/4. So our width here is 8 3/8, so we're in good shape. We're going to do 3 continuous 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3 off of, we got 4 strips here. But we'll be able to do this whole speaker pair with what's going to be 2 half of 1 8-foot strip. These are 8 feet long. We're going to be able to do it with 4 feet probably, and be able to do all 5 sides. So we'll do the layout, get them pre-cut. We're going to do a little cutout around the label, and we're going to veneer right over the label with the cutout in the veneer. This one's going to be a little tricky because it's a little crooked. So we will veneer right over the top of this hole and then cut it out with a knife afterwards. It's not a big issue. But I think we're going to pre-cut around the label. So next step, pull out a strip, do the layout, cut the pieces, successive strips off the veneer. So we get 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, and then the sides we'll do later. We've pre-cut our 5 pieces. So here's our back case, we'll call it. Our 2 sides, our bottom, the back of the back, and then the top of the back. I'm always paranoid when you use contact cement. Of course, if you read the warnings on here, that'll make you paranoid. And so if you hear some audio fan noise in the background, that is because I've got my large shop fan, dust collection shop fan turned on, and that's meant to disperse the fumes associated with contact cement so that we don't have an explosion. We're just going to use an old credit card here and apply to the back side of all the veneer and our wood box back, and set that aside to dry, and then we're good to go. So it's a pretty straightforward process. You can use a brush, you can use a roller. There's a variety of ways to do this. Don't do what I just did already, which is get the contact cement onto the front side of the wood. So we need to address that immediately. That'll require some sanding to remove. Yeah, I have to check and see what the proper solvent is. So that's why we've got the paper laid out here. Paper provides you a surface that you can apply your glue on and not have to worry. I wanted to make sure we talked about how to apply this first piece. So we've cut a window out in this paper. The paper is cut. We've got everything lined up where it should be. Do a final check, make sure everything is properly aligned. Then we're just going to pull this paper out. Just pull it down a little. Use our roller, pull it a little more. As we pull this out, we'll just keep making sure that we've adhered it. We don't want to have to roll out any bubbles. There we go. Bottom's done. We'll do a final rolling afterwards, but that's in good shape. On the upper side, I'm going to do the same. A little tackiness to the contact cement, but nothing we can't pull. All right, just start working it. There it is. All right, that's it. That's all there is to it. We'll just do final rolling, then we'll turn this over, trim it, and then we can do our top and bottom as we progress. So we've trimmed off the edges, making sure we've got really good bond here. Cutout here doesn't have to be perfect. The cap that goes in has a flange that covers up the edge. Little pieces like this, we want to make sure we get those off. See, right there, so that'll interfere with the next piece going on. We want to make sure that's all trimmed nice and clean. Okay, that side looks good. Time for the top and bottom pieces. Took me a minute to get the veneer lined up. Really happy with how clean this edge is. Let me just take a little bit more. It's primarily some glue, but yeah, that's all right now. So we're going to line up our grain lines. It's right there. Okay. Just do a quick little roll, then we're going to move over to the other side. All right, we don't have grain match on these last two edges, so not particularly critical. Just get, and we'll do a final rolling on all these for final bonding. All right, we do have a little issue on this edge, this corner. This piece of veneer broke off. You know, it's oak. It's got extremely deep grain, so it's easy for a piece to pop off like that. So we're going to have to use some super glue and keep that tied down. The rest of it, we'll just do a little touch sand on these edges. Make sure that they've been, sharp edges have been de-splintered. Don't want to get any splinters from the edges, and then sand and stain. Oh, I see a little shadow spot right here. You can probably see that too. So it's got to be removed. There we go. We have what now amounts to a basic wood finishing project. We're all our corners are fully checked, sanded. Any little crack we had, a couple small little gaps, popped a little wood filler in there, sanded those down. So our wood boxes, our rear boxes are now done. This is a stain I had left over from another project. So let's give this a go. I'm going to keep it fairly, I can always put more on. It's tough to take stain off, so we'll be careful and make sure we get all the grain filled. And then if we need to come along and darken it, which looks like we might, add some different tones, we can do that. I'll come back to you as we progress here. We've mounted the drivers, mounted the crossover, binding post assembly, reconnected everything. We're ready to close it up. Just got to put in our damping material. Just some simple polyfill. That all tucked in here as necessary. And then we'll attach. Okay. Slide this all in. Looks good. We've got our screws. Actually, we can drive these in. And we'll take a look at the final result. Really all there is to it. I didn't show on camera. I actually did do a sound check, make sure everything was wired correctly, and it was. So that gives me the confidence to put this all together. Oh, I see one loose screw here. Let's get that tightened up. Actually, 3 of those were loose. Let me make sure I did these. Yes, we're done. All right, so there it is, our not Mission MKII Model 70s. I would dare say these are perhaps cosmetically the nicest pair of Mission MKII Model 70s that you'll find. Real wood grain oak veneer. New grill cloths on them. They look beautiful, actually. That's not what they are. As we saw when we were kind of surprised by the pulling them apart on the inside. That's too bad, because they probably would command a fairly steep price. I'll have to put these up for sale, knowing that, and I'll make that fully known. I looked into, should we talk a little bit more about the Speaker Place, which was a retail stereo shop and repair store in Rochester, New York. There isn't a lot of information out there about Dave Kendig, who was the proprietor there. They had about $300,000, between $300,000 and $500,000 in sales on an annual basis. There's a couple photos of the interior of the place, but there's not a lot of other information that I was able to find. I tried to track down Dave personally. I did know him, but I was not able to connect to him. That would have made an interesting summary, actually. But there they are. We'll do probably a little audio clip and add that to the video as well. So I hope you enjoyed coming along on this refurb process, and we'll have more like this in the future. We'll try to get another pair of Missions, and of course, Mission 770 would be the ones to try to find. They're out there. They're very expensive on the open market, so you have to find a pair from somebody who doesn't know what they have. All right, thanks a lot. Have a listen.